Greetings, Mech Warriors. This is Tam. The MechWarrior 5 walkthrough just came out recently, so I figured I'd do a quick analysis of my thoughts about it. I'm not going to go through the entire trailer by itself. We'll get right into my thoughts about it. We're going to start with the GUI. Looking at the mech here, the first obvious thing, starting at the top left, is they moved the mini-map from the center to the top left. I'm not a big fan of that. I kind of liked having everything at the bottom. My immersion decide that I'm getting my situational awareness by looking at my cockpit and looking at the gauges and the displays. But other games have it up there, so that's fine. You see the different icons that they've included now. I kind of like the new mech icons. It's an arrowhead, so you see what direction the mech is facing without needing to add something else. The hexagon with the triangle or the turrets. See, we're right in front of us here within our field of view. The hexagon with the little V on top is a helicopter. You'll see also on top here. You'll see it go across the middle in a second. I like the new icons. I think they look good. I think they're clear. And you also notice how the icons leave the map as we get past them. We don't see them anymore. I prefer that. I think it just seems a little more realistic and immersive than having a 360-degree radar showing where everything is. I do wonder if there's a battle map that has grid locations, because I think it'd be difficult when you're doing co-op missions to indicate where people need to go if you don't have a grid map with letters and numbers of where to go and what to do. Here in the bottom left, we've got the paper doll. I'm surprised that this version of the Shadowhawk, the Gray Death, that's the hero variant of the Shadowhawk in MWO. Why list the Gray Death? Why don't you actually put a number? Seemed a little weird to me. You have the three gauges here. You've got the speedometer, 82 kilometers per hour. You've got the mech's temperature. In the middle, I think it's the jump jets, because you see this slowly refill as you go through the mission, and we don't use the jump jets in the rest of this mission, so I think that's what that is. I'm not quite sure here. I noticed with the Shadowhawk here, our max speed of 82 kilometers per hour, kind of shows that we're using a 275 engine. If it was a standard engine and with this weapons loadout, we'd only have 2 tons of ammo, so I think it's an XL. So that kind of explains to me that this is later in the game, because the XL engine doesn't get back into the inner sphere till about 30-35. Especially with the amount of ammo we have here on the right. So we'll start talking about that, the weapons and the grouping. When you fire the MW5 here, as opposed to MWO, you see a ammo reduction of 1 every time. So that's a whole lot of ammo, which again, why I think we have an XL engine right now. The X crosshair are for weapons that are torso mounted, and the diamond is for weapons that are arm mounted, which is fine. And then last in the GUI here, you see the compass on the top with the different icons. That's really similar to MWO. I think it works well. In general, I think the GUI here is very clean. It's easy to read. It seems a little sterile to me. It's almost like a PowerPoint display or a Twitch overlay. I liked MWO's slightly curved or canted look. It made it more look like a HUD being displayed on the screen inside the mech. But this works fine. It gets the information across. I think that's a small thing. Other things to notice here, we have Comstar Financial Services sign here. We have an advertisement for hamburgers and whatnot. I'm happy that they did the extra work to do that. They didn't have to. And you notice how we're starting out with a mech here on our left, here at our 9 o'clock position, moving away from us, and we never turn and look at it again. Continuing forward, I'm not a fan of the whoosh sound of the lasers, but they are still green. I do like how you've got that fuzzy look to them, because you really wouldn't see lasers in a real environment unless there was dust or something, and so it gives that indication of that. I love how the MW5 barrels rotate as they fire. And then we're looking at the Commando's paper doll up here now. My first instinct is, why is the structure of the Commando white when ours isn't? I wonder if there's something different about that Commando. And you get a further look at the head here, and they call out the cockpit separate from the head. So I wonder, as opposed to MWO, are they different hitboxes? does the head actually have its own armory value separate from the cockpit? Because that's not how MWO works, but I wouldn't mind that. I think it's not a bad idea. And here you see that the UAC jams, and it takes about 4 seconds to unjam. I really like how the Shadowhawk slows down as it walks through the building. It goes from 82 to 39. I kind of think there should be some leg damage too, but that's fine. I wonder if the amount of head bouncing is adjustable within the game. Here's another indication why I think this is later gameplay, because our reputation progress is quite high. So I think we're far into the game. There's why, again, I think it's a XL engine. First look at the salvage screen, and I see here in the bottom right, what are insurance costs? I'd be really interested to see how they're putting that into the game. Like, can you insure your mechs? If you lose it, you get another one? Is that how they're going to play it? I don't know. Other thing I notice here is shares of salvage. It's not just 1-to-1. Some items of salvage are worth more than others, and I like that idea, because there would be more worth. You see how this AC-20 is worth 5 compared to everything else is worth 2. This is also our first look at the different pips on each piece of equipment. I think when you look in the Mech Lab, you see those are the tiers, and some are just better quality, however you want to define that. Notice how this LRM2 with 2 pips is worth a bit more than the other LRM10s are. And that kind of makes sense. We'll talk more about the Burstfire AC-20 when we get to the Mech Lab. One thing I did find weird is the AC-20's listed value is over 2 million, but it only showed up as 600,000 down at the bottom. I'm not sure what that's about. Interior of the dropship looks beautiful. I'm not sure if I'm a fan that the dropship is actually the Mech Lab, but okay. So now we go to the Mech Lab proper. We're going to first look at that. And here's our first exposure to how MechWarrior 5 are doing their weapon slots. Not only is it a ballistic slot, it's a large ballistic slot, and there'll be medium and small slots as well. You don't really expose you to that there, so we can't really see how they've decided to allow the mounting of medium or small weapons into those slots, if there are going to be rules to that or not. We can start looking up here at the Burstfire AC-20 and look at some of its specs. It mentions the Burstfire is an AC-20. It's not a UAC, it's not an LBX, but has a shorter range with higher damage. And you'll see in the video a little later that the ammunition streams out as opposed to a single round, which is fine. It includes a projectile spread value for this that you don't see in a normal UAC, a normal autocannon. We'll see what that means. You wonder at Tier 5, and with a nice big color here, so it shows you it's a top quality weapon. I wonder if that's associated with the manufacturer, or just this happens to be a good one, and it's a reason you want to use it. They go through and load other things, energy weapons, missile weapons. You can see the different values in there. And then I really like that difference of view between weapon and details. If you don't need to get farther into the details, you don't have to, which I think is pretty cool. We're back to that, and then you look at the display here. I wonder though, the ammunition is already on board, and we didn't load it in this video. Was the video edited, or can you only bring 2 tons of ammo with a large weapon like a AC-20 or LRM-15? Don't know. The ammo's green, and we did not get into the green slot, but the heat sinks are green too, and I bet heat sinks are there. I don't know if no ammo's going to be there, so I'm interested to see how that looks. I do like these 2 views. Now, the other thing to notice is there's no engine. So I think they're going to follow the lead of HBS Battletech video game on you can't change the engines on your mechs. The engines will be what they are with each chassis in each variant. And that doesn't bother me. I think it's a reasonable rule. It helps make the different mechs of the same tonnage different from each other. This mech, this is a 55 tonner, but it's faster, but you can put less things on it. That's cool. So from here, we're going to head off to the star map. Oh, star map's in a second. We're in the camo area here. I love the options. I love how you can type in hex values to get exactly the color you want. I'm a little disappointed that only the MWO camo patterns are in the game, but I know modders will upgrade that.
Primary, secondary, and tertiary colors any way we want. But today, we'll pick one of the paint presets that'll make it shine.
Now we head off to the star map. My first reaction is, wow, those people look like mannequins. I wonder how early this is, or if that's just going to be the way it looks. It's a big inner sphere map. I really like here, as you start looking within the red circle, that's the conflict zone, and that affects our repair costs and our repair times. I think that's a great thing to add to it. As me with my mercenary commander, do I need to leave the conflict zone to get repairs or parts for what I need to do? I think that's a great thing to put in there. You also notice as you hit each star here in the bottom right, it tells you how long it takes to get there. Again, right out of HPS Battletech there, and that makes sense. What I found surprising is as we got to our mission, story mission up here in the top right, it's going to take 151 days to get there. This is a big star map, and that's kind of cool. I love this animation as we jump in. Yeah, the dropship disengages far too fast, but this is just the animation in between missions, and that's fine. We start the Atlas mission here, and here's our first view of the Lance interface. You see all four mechs are listed up here. And here you see how they indicate the different classes. The 1 dot, that's the medium mech, that's the hunchback. 2 dots for the heavy mech. I would assume the Atlas, the assaults, have 3 dots, 3 pips. And the light mechs are 0, like they had earlier when the Shadowhawk was fighting the Commando. You see how they give function keys that tell you how to send the different commands.
Our mission objective is to take out an enemy.
Here we shoot up some stuff, which is great. As we walk up to the Blackjack Hack here, and then Centurion walks across. You see in a second here, you get to see the MechWarrior eject, and the entire head, it seems, of the Centurion ejects up here in a second. There it goes, and then the Blackjack follows. I think that's a neat effect. I wonder if that changes for if I actually shoot him in the head to kill him. Would that still happen? Is it dynamic? I don't know. Big question here. What are those circles? What are those spheres? Are those shields? Or is that supposed to be a pressure wave? Did we hit some electrical equipment? I don't know. Good view of the burst fire weapon, how the ammunition streams out rather than just a single volley of a single round. And then we walk into the base here, and you'll see up in the top center there's a general health bar now for the base, because you don't have to destroy a certain building, you just need to destroy enough buildings. Or perhaps all of them if we're trying to get it down to 0. I like how the supporting helicopters and whatnot don't count to the health, you just actually have to kill the buildings. Overall, I enjoyed the video. I think it was a great look at the game. I'd be interested, hopefully we get to see some of the more modding information that they promised we'd have an AMA in the next couple of weeks. Thank you for watching, guys. I will see you on the battlefield.